Yeah, like they look like Goofy from Mickey Mouse, who's, got an extra arm or something.
Oh, God. Oh, that's much more terrifying than I thought it would be.
Open your mind to the old one. At the top, I would like to issue an apology.
Oh, okay.
We made, I think, a couple of episodes now. And in the interim, like since making those episodes, a new Kingdom Hearts has been announced. We have failed to even mention that happened at all.
It doesn't feel real.
Doesn't feel real. I think that maybe why I wasn't able to approach it. But regardless, like Kingdom Hearts, one of the cornerstones of our podcast, we have totally ignored the fact that there's a fourth one coming out.
It's announced. There's a CGI trailer.
Yeah.
We'll see how long it takes for it to come out.
Yeah, you can expect to play this one on your PlayStation 7.
Oh, no, that's real. That's true.
Yeah, it's within striking distance. Is it? Oh my God, yeah.
Because from 2 to 5, actually, it'll be PlayStation 8.
PlayStation 8.
It's gonna skip.
Lord,
it's gonna skip 6 and 7. Come out on the PS8. The Pate.
The Pate is that's a demanding way to start this podcast. If this is anybody's first episode, I think Pate is going to be a pretty hard way to start it.
Yeah, PS8, babies. Pate.
Hey, it's Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimists video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase, and I'm excited for the Pate.
My name is David, and, Pate, I don't think it's going to be all it's cracked up to be. Is it goated with the sauce? We don't know.
We don't know.
We have no way of knowing.
Yeah, I'm more of an Xbox 10,000 kind of guy.
Xbox 10,000.
That's not really funny.
You have no idea what the next Xbox name is going to be. They're the true wild cards of the
they
video
zig
game industry.
When we think they're going to zag. Yeah, I got no idea.
It's going to be called the Video Game Series 20. It's just going to be called Game Pass, actually. They're just going to stop making...
Oh, my God.
The Xbox Game Pass XS. Desktop mode.
Desktop edition.
Desktop edition.
Lord. Hey, have you been playing video games, David?
I have been.
Yeah, me too. Just real quick.
Uh-huh.
It's only been a week since we talked about this because we're back on the weekly schedule.
Yeah.
Feels so right. Just have a normal amount of video games to talk about. So right with this normal amount of video games. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it thin this episode because we just haven't had the time to play as many games. So that's good.
Perfect.
But for me, it's been, what game have I played, Chase? What game have I played? And there's only one answer, and that is Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Oh, mama.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're in it.
Wow.
You haven't played this game yet.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I decided to jump in, and I think I've already put in 25 hours into this game.
It comes quick, man.
Like, it was a fever dream, and I woke up in Caelid.
Which is a bad place to wake up, to be fair. That place sucks. Yeah.
That's a scary place. They have werewolves and evil demon birds.
Yeah, everything's like got big head mode on. It's very frightening over there in Caelid.
It's very small appendages.
Yeah.
Oh, but wow, this game is absurdly good.
Yeah, it's nuts, right?
I don't think I've experienced this kind of feeling with a game since Skyrim came out.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, this is the closest thing to that feeling of just pure, unbridled exploration and enjoyment that I felt with Skyrim. That game came out a long ass time ago, despite how many versions of it there are. But yeah, this game is really really incredible. You've
played some of the FromSoft games thus far. I feel like, was Sekiro your first one that you really got into?
Yes, Sekiro was the first FromSoft game I really got into, and then I since beat Demon Souls and Bloodborne.
Right. So yeah, you're kind of in this zeitgeist.
Yes, very much so at this point.
I feel like having played all those really feels good to go into Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like, the context of it is really helpful to kind of just be able to sort through what you need to pay attention to and what you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives you there is a commonality between all of these games.
Yeah.
And you start to see the threads of just like, oh yeah, I can ignore this area for right now and just go this other way because that thing is kicking my whole ass, as you say. Yeah, that tree sentinel really fucks with you in the beginning.
Those dudes are real bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Did you beat the tree sentinel?
Yeah, I beat him.
Oh my Jesus, David. You always go through these games in like the hardest way possible. Didn't you beat Father Gascoigne without knowing how to parry?
Yes. I only did it by accident. And I didn't even know how to take advantage of it. But I know how to take advantage of when I like stun somebody in this one. I admit they use the same sound effects from Bloodborne. I'm just like, I'm on it. Yeah. I'm here. Yeah.
See, I feel like so in the beginning of Elden Ring, there's an enemy called the Tree Sentinel, which is like right outside where you like first come out.
I didn't beat him the first time I went up against him.
Okay, thank God, David. Dude,
I ran past that bastard. He kicked my ass like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And I just went to the campfire beyond there. The grace, the lost grace.
I feel like it is such an important lesson that they are teaching you at the beginning of that game that like, listen, some things are going to kick your ass and like, you don't have to just bash your head against the wall. Just don't fight them right now. It is one of the biggest twists that Elden Ring makes compared to like all the other FromSoft games. Mm-hmm. And it's good that they're teaching you up front, but I was really worried that you said no. No, Miyazaki, I will not learn this lesson.
I thought about it.
I know you did.
I could do this. I could do this. But yeah, I didn't even have the horse at that point, and the horse is pretty fucking crucial to beating those guys.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm semi role playing as Robert Baratheon.
Oh, sure.
So I'm just like, Robert wouldn't back down from this fight. Robert would just scream and just head right back towards him. Yeah, that's where I am.
So it was a tough defeat.
I'm a big meathead. Yeah, it wounded my pride. Once I beat Margit, I'm like, let's go, Tree Sentinel. I'll fuck you up.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, where are you in this game? I should ask.
I've beaten Godric.
Okay, yep.
And then I've beaten like Castle Morn, which is that southern castle area.
Yeah.
With the weird weebly wobbly, whatever his name is, boss at the end. He's got a weird like Scottish name.
He was like a beast, right?
He's a beast, yeah. And they have and he's the one who hides the Game of Thrones sword.
Right, yes. Yeah.
So I've beaten those 2. And now I went to Caelid. I was deciding whether to go to Caelid or to the Sorcery Academy. And I chose Caelid first because I'm trying to make my way through the southern part and then go north.
I mean, yeah, either totally valid. Like it's great how like they can just the game lets you do really either one.
Yeah, so it was pretty clear. It's like, hey, you can do this one or that one. Because I talked to Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing, fucking awesome name. Thank you, GRRM.
Yeah, it's very good, yeah.
God, the names are so good in this game. He's such an expert namer of things. It's so impressive.
I agree and also have such a hard time tracking any of the names. That, like, there are, like, 8 names that start with R. And they're, like, all of the bosses have God in front of their name. And so I'm just, like, holding my head in my hand, trying to figure out who I'm fighting.
Right. No, that's real. That's real. Godric the Grafted. You fucked up, dude. That guy's fucked up.
Yeah, the like lore behind that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. I'm finding some of the lore. I like those big swords that have lore on them.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
That's always cool. Always cool. Yeah. But yeah, this game is crazy good. I'm playing a strength and dexterity build with a little bit of faith mixed in for summons.
It's bananas how they make like, again, I've played this through twice now. They make most of the builds pretty viable. You can kind of build your character in any way that you want, and it's all fine. Like it's all good. They give you weapons to like use it, and like you still can do enough damage. Mm-hmm. I'm playing another FromSoft game right now, and which I'll get to. But some of the weapons in that one, I'm like, how am I supposed to build around this? This sucks. Like, this is really hard.
They've learned lessons. They've learned lessons for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to after I beat the game with this build. I want to start another game, and I'm gonna be a stealth archer, Skyrim style.
Oh, is archery a possibility in this game?
Yeah.
Like, is it? I mean, like you can do archery, but is it something that like scales well with damage? I haven't even attempted.
I don't know, but I was just sneaking around, and I got big Skyrim vibes from the game. Just like I should be a sneaky, shooty, magic-y boy, and see what happens.
I would love to see if that's a possibility. Because like I always count out archery and crossbows in the FromSoft games as like there's no way. Because usually it's just a way to pull people over, but like I'm sure they've probably built that in as like a thing you can do.
Oh, speaking of archery, I love it when there's like a big scorpion gun that just fucks you up out of nowhere. You're like, what the fuck just happened? It's great. I'm just like, it's on. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Charge on my horse.
The game definitely allows for those moments where like it is sort of lulling you into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Of like, you're fine out here. Everything's all good. And like it's like very much not. I feel like in a lot of the other Souls games, I don't know, you kind of get like you can sniff it out when they're about to fuck with you.
Yeah.
Like you're coming into a room and it's like it's too empty in here. Like something is going to come stab me in the back. Like there's no way that this isn't a thing. But because sometimes in the world in Elden Ring, like it is fine. It is open. It's all good. Like they allow those moments to happen, that when something does just come out of nowhere and like a dragon lands next to you, you're like, oh
that
no.
lake in the beginning. Ooh, that dragon battle was a good one. Spicy.
My first playthrough, I didn't even go there. I didn't even see that dragon.
Really?
Yeah. So the second time I played through it, I was like, oh shit, I totally missed this.
It's a big battle.
Yeah, it's significant. It's very frightening and scary and cool.
It's very frightening. It's awesome.
What are you feeling like this does differently or has improved upon the other like FromSoft stuff that makes it so good in your mind?
I think there are more enemies that are just kind of easily beatable. You know, it's not like, I mean, you still have to take everyone seriously, but it's not like every single creature is going to like just fucking destroy you. You know, at least if you're leveled properly, you'll be fine. I like the sheer number of bosses in the game. There's so many.
There's a lot, yeah.
Like so many little mini bosses and all the catacombs and everything. Really fun, so they can just, you know, do something really kind of quick and fun and different if they want to. But probably the best thing is how they meld like their traditional kind of exploration in a tightly controlled area like a castle with that larger open area of just like, you know, you can go and fight this guy if you want. It might not be the best idea right now, but you can challenge yourself if you want to. Just go for it. But otherwise you can just like run around. But honestly, the biggest thing, and I think something that I'm surprised that more people have been talking about, is that they have cracked the code on horse combat.
It does feel pretty good. Like there's
what? How are not more people talking about this? Am I the only one who's just like experiencing this horse combat as like next level?
I don't know. It does feel good, and I think they nail the way that like you don't have a lot of mobility when you're trying to hit somebody else. Like when you're trying to actually get up next to somebody, you really got to go next to them and like making runs at people and sort of like slashing by at them. Like it does feel good.
It feels great. And I don't think I've ever chosen to do horse combat in any game ever. Besides this one. And I'm just like, no, it makes you feel like a knight because you feel superior on your horse against unhorsed people.
It is unhorsed people. It is it is a pretty
Sorry.
That's okay.
That was not a reference to unhoused people. That was just that's just what I was saying.
I just thought the phrase unhorsed people was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it does feel like a huge advantage to be on a horse when you're fighting like people who are not on horses.
Yeah, like just coming from Sekiro, or not Sekiro, but Ghost of Tsushima to this, the horse in that game was fine.
Usually, I at least usually chose to get off my horse to fight people.
Always.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, it's like, no, if I can take out a couple guys on my horse, and if I want to get off, I'll do that. But why would I get off my horse? It works. It works well. The horse is fast. It feels like how quickly it should traverse around the world. Torrent, I think, is the best horse.
Yeah, it's
top
a very good
horse.
Yeah,
and it's not like Red Dead Redemption horse where I feel like I'm gonna accidentally like jump off and punch it in the face. You know, it just like it controls well and easily.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of losing my mind over the horse, to be quite honest. maybe I'm alone on this, but I really think they did a really damn good job with the horse. And they gave a horse a double jump. Bro,
it's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Yeah.
That's
it's very cool.
If the horse is supposed to be just for traversal, why shouldn't it double jump? It's great.
That's a great point.
It's great.
People oftentimes in the conversation about Torrent get caught up in the platforming sections with Torrent, which are challenging. Like getting from like one platform to another on Torrent, I was sometimes like, oh my God, dude, I can't fall again.
Sure.
And do this. But the combat feels great. You're totally right. And like, not just in the way that like swinging your sword feels good, but like thematically feels good that like I am more powerful up here than I am on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you feel like a knight.
Like whenever you're running up on those like caravans of dudes where there's like 20 of them just like toe to toe, just regularly, that's hard. Like there's a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to overwhelm you. But like if you go on the horse and just like run through them and slash a couple times, like it's much better.
And you just got a big old sword and you're just dragging it behind you, just letting the sparks come and just, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. But yeah, I think those are the things that the traversal, the freedom you have with motion. And is this the first FromSoft game with besides Sekiro with a jump?
So far as I can tell, it's not in any of the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, or Demon Souls. So
yeah, the jump feels great.
It's pretty shocking. When they said press X to jump in the beginning, I was like, excuse me?
You're like, what? What is that? What are those words?
I'm, spoilers. I'm playing Dark Souls 1 right now.
Remastered?
Yeah.
That's on my back burner. I'm afraid to play it after playing.
Yeah, I'll speak to that in a second, but just like, I've been constantly reaching for the jump button in this one, because like there's just like a little lip that I'm not getting over, and I'm like, come on, let me do a little hop. Let me get up on this thing.
Just give me a little taste.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game. I think if anybody who's listening to this listens to other video game podcasts, like this is definitely trotted territory at this point, but
yeah,
it's good. It's very good. It takes the same sort of fun that it feels like Zelda did or Breath of the Wild did, and does it in the way that suits this video game, and they do it really well. Like it's shocking.
Yeah, no, it's great that they just let the world guide you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is, I think if you can make it work that way, that's kind of my preferred way to play these open world games.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I know a lot of people love the Ubisoft way of doing it, but I've just played so many Assassin's Creeds that this is just so much more fresh and interesting at this point.
I think that's a big sticking point for me as well, that like that genre, or the approach to open world games that a lot of the Ubisoft games have, it's just so saturated. Like there's a lot of games like that.
Yeah, because it was so genre defining at first.
Yeah, it was a big deal for a long time, and like I would love it if the balance just sort of like worked out a little bit more, where you saw maybe fewer of those games,
but not like Thanos over there.
About half of those kind of games, if we could make a division here, and more of these, right? I agree with you though that like it's probably a lot harder to make a game like this than it is to throw together that's reductive, but put together an Ubisoft model open world game, because you have to build so much of the world to draw you along, rather than just like relying on a waypoint or something like that,
Exactly. It's not just the visuals, it's the map is drawing you to places. It's, you're on your way to one thing and you see something else in the distance. And you're like, no one's telling me what that is, but what is it? I want to know. And you go and you put a waypoint and you look, and there's a monster in there and there's good loot, and you go on back to the other mission you were just about to do.
It's true. Like the incentives in this game are just so well organized, of like, I do want to go check shit out, because oftentimes there is something pretty cool in there,
Yeah, it's like every time that you get an item, you're like, this is useful. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I unlocked a new skin, or I need 8 more of these to unlock the ability to buy something. Like those are not good enough prizes for me to keep spending my time like finding these small things in those other games. But if you give me like a tier, because I had explored this castle, this sacred tier, and now I'm closer to upgrading my flask, like that's huge. That's great.
Yeah. Or like just the sheer fact that they give you runes for fighting anybody is super useful, of like, well, at the very least, if I go in there, I've at least got some runes to the point where I could level up. So yeah, they've got such a good loop there with pulling you in with your curiosity, and also allowing you to get rewarded for whatever's in there. There are just so many moments where like, it looked like, this is just like some gazebo that I'm going to go check out for a little while. And then it leads to just like something absolutely mind blowing, like crazy shit happening in some of these locales. And so it's really cool. They don't, how was to put this? Like they give you such huge rewards sometimes with like following your exploration, that like it ends up feeling like you probably should go check everything out, because there's probably something incredible around like one of these corners. And there's usually something at least good around the corners.
Yeah, it's either good or incredible.
Yeah, there's no time where you're like, that was a waste of my time.
Yeah, that's always the worst when you're playing one like an open world game. You're just like, did I really have to like spend 10 or 15 minutes doing this for this very small menial reward?
Yeah, kind of not really.
Yeah, whereas this one's like, every time it's something good. It's an ash of something, it's a summon, it's a cool sword, it's something good. Always something good.
Or, and I don't know if you've experienced this super hard, because you're still like, I'd say probably still kind of in the early game, but like, if you run into a place and you're over leveled, that still feels good. because you're getting in there and just like wiping the floor with people, and you're like, look at how fucking good I am.
That's how I was with the Castle Morn. Because I beat Godric before I went down there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you were probably whipping in there.
Yeah, I think they wanted me to go south first, but I went straight for Godric's throat. Come at me, buddy. But he's the runt of the litter.
It's true.
Only more to come. More demigods.
You're already grasping at more lore than I got, David.
They're demigods.
Yeah, sure. Somebody said that. I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't catch that.
Also, when you go into that room with the fingers, I thought there was a tree.
It's frightening.
It's
not
spooky.
A good feeling when they're kind of just back there, like moving around a little bit.
It's like,
oh God,
excuse me? And then they speak through that crone in there, the finger crone.
It's horrific. Yeah, some of the implications of the lore is pretty scary.
I'm excited to dive more into it. I'll let you know what I find.
Please do, because I'm always out in the dark on some of this stuff.
GRRM's writing needs to be savored like a fine cognac.
I was savoring it like a LaCroix. I was chugging it down without really much hesitation or...
I think it was more like a PBR.
Yeah, no sensitivity to the flavor of this thing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Elden Ring is so good. It's consuming me. It's doing exactly what I thought it was going to do, which is just like grab me by the throat and say, keep playing, but in a very loving and but coercive way.
Yeah. I totally agree. Every time, like when I was really in the depths of that game, it's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was hard to pull myself away from it for long enough to play the game we're talking about this week. But thankfully that game was so different than Elden Ring that it was able to hold its own, I thought.
Yeah, that's true. You're talking about our good games game.
Yes, I am. A little preview. That was like one of those little sword lores from Elden Ring. Just a taste. I'm not telling you the whole thing, but I'm just giving you a little exposition.
It's the item description of our podcast this week. If you go into the menu and hit square, you'll get some more info.
Hit square. God. Heathens only.
Some of the UI stuff is like inscrutable in these games. It's so challenging to overcome.
Can I ask you why everybody calls the tortoises dogs?
I think it's just a fucking Elden Ring meme.
Just a meme. Look at this dog.
I think like, and in the very beginning, like right when the game launched, people were just putting that tag on anything, like must be dog, and it's like clearly not a dog. And so pretty much anytime I think somebody sees an animal in there, they're like, I gotta go toss a sign down right now that says this is a dog. Gonna get lots of upvotes on this one.
God.
And if you do leave a message, you do get healed from time to time if someone says that's a good message.
Really?
Yeah, so like you're kind of incentivized to like leave something funny or good.
I had no idea. Anyways, what have you been playing?
I've been playing some video games, David. So at the top, played and finished Parasite Eve 1.
Solid on the old Steam Deck?
On the old Steam Deck, which is still just a delightful way to play these games.
The old Steamy D?
Okay. Okay. I think maybe we could take another pass at that one, see if it's something different. So it's a delightful way to play the Steam Deck, these emulation things. Because a lot of these games I'm playing through RetroArch, like I said, and so you can speed the game up, you can use save states, and so a lot of the difficulty that is found on these like older games, you can kind of curb a little bit. Stuff like grinding is not nearly as difficult when you can, play the game at 3 or 4 times speed. You can just slam through battles to get levels and stuff like that. So like that sort of stuff is very, very easy. So yeah, it was pretty enjoyable to play this. But Parasite Eve is much shorter than I remembered it being. The playtime said 10 hours to beat it, and like partially that is that I've played this game before, and so like there wasn't a lot of like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I think my actual like real time human time play of this game was shorter because I was doing fast forward, and so like the in-game clock counts it as just regular time going past.
Yeah.
And so I probably played it for 6 or 7 rather than 10. It's enjoyable. Like I think that it's hard to disengage my own nostalgia from this game just because like I said, very meaningful to me. But even with that said, I think it is pretty fun. I think it's like a very good tone piece. It's very like scary, and they meld the story of this like body biological horror late 90s sort of tone with nearly classic Square RPG stuff pretty well.
Sure.
Like I think those two things are pretty fun to like kind of mash up against each other, just because they are kind of like salty and sweet things. It's like I don't necessarily know that these things would go together, but they do.
And sweet video game. I love it.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm sure I'll play this game again. It's definitely something that I return to very frequently. Not to mention the end of the game has this like truly terrifying chase sequence where you like fight just increasingly JRPG final bosses.
Oh no.
There's like this big monster that like it's a huge fight on the Statue of Liberty. It's all gross and disgusting. Another like baby crawls out of the mess that you just made, like a little monster baby.
Oh, no.
You shoot that some, it turns into like Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. Not really, but like it looks like Frieza. And then like you beat that thing, it grows wings, like all this shit. Like it just keeps going and going and going. So anyway, there's this like horrifying end to the game, and eventually the monster turns into this like looks like underwater creature. Like it's just got like fins and like a tail and shit like that.
Yeah. And now it's a Zora.
Totally. It looks like a Zora. And eventually Ayabrea, the protagonist, is like, I don't think I can kill this thing. I have to go like blow up the ship that I'm on to deal with it. And so what you're forced to do is run through this like battleship that you're on while this thing is chasing you, and it's getting faster the whole time.
Terrifying. And
if it touches you, it's a one-hit kill. And so like you really gotta go. I think if I didn't know the stakes of that and I was just like, I'm going to go see what it wants from me, and it killed me and I had to do the boss again, I would be quite frustrated. But I sort of knew that was the case. And so was still scary, but had a good time with it instead. Anyway, so that led me into immediately checking out Parasite Eve 2.
Nice.
Because I remember liking this game a lot and have not played it nearly as much as I've returned to Parasite Eve 1. It was still made by Square and came out not that long after the first one. And so I was like, surely it's got to hit some of the same notes. But I think I mostly forgot that this game was like a pretty significant departure from the first one. It was originally planned as like a spin-off. Like Ayabrea, the protagonist from the first one, wasn't even going to be in this one.
Sure.
It was just going to be kind of something different. And they made kind of a last minute decision to actually cast her as the main protagonist and make it like a full-blown sequel.
Okay.
But the game differs in a lot of ways. I think the most obvious of which is that the combat's pretty different. You'll get into fights or whatever that kind of look like, it's a battle system or whatever, but it feels much closer to like a Resident Evil where you're aiming your gun and shooting your gun rather than like engaging with this like RPG system of here's the level of my gun and my character and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, it's like the difference between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. They're trying to streamline it, make it more action-y.
I think so. And like that's definitely not a mistake because Resident Evil was like very, very popular at the time. Yeah. And so I think like it makes sense that they would try and emulate that. But also there was a lot of people who worked on Resident Evil 1 that came to work on Parasite Eve 2. And so there was just a lot of folks involved in it of like, okay, well, maybe we should just do this other thing that's very popular right now.
Sure.
Because we've already made that work.
Yeah.
And so I think that part of it felt a little bit more aged to me in playing it now. Like I remember it being very satisfying and very fun. And I think that's just because it was existing within the moment at the time. Like I was also very into Parasite Eve into Resident Evil at the time. And so Parasite Eve taking stuff from that felt like, oh yeah, really cool. Great. This is awesome. But Resident Evil has changed like a lot since then.
It sure has. Yeah.
Like Resident Evil 4 came out. That was a huge shift. Game changer. The next couple came out that were also very different. Like the Biohazard games now being in first person and like all the remakes of 2 and 3 even being like big departures from the source material. That genre of survival horror has changed a lot. And so playing this version of it felt kind of like, wow, this feels really like dated.
Sure. Compared
to something like Parasite Eve 1, which is harkening back to an era that is still kind of emulated in the same way. Like there are still a lot of RPGs now that if you squint hard enough look like an RPG from the 90s, right?
Sure.
Like not visually, but like they use a turn-based combat system or at least kind of active. You have levels on your characters and like you're sort of moving through the story in that way rather than you have a gun and you shoot and, you know, it uses tank controls and there's fixed camera angles and shit like that, you know?
Sure.
And so that was like, I think a little bit of a letdown in that like I was hoping the game would age more gracefully as far as like mechanics go. It didn't feel bad. It was just like, I remembered this being more significant. And so a little bit of a nostalgia teardown, I guess.
Sure.
I also think the tone is very bizarre in this one.
Yeah.
They, in making it more of an action game, sort of dispatched the old like cosmic horror of the first game. I think the first game did a really good job of setting this tone of like things being very frightening and scary on like not just the level of like the monsters in front of you are scary, but like the implication of this is very frightening. And like the place that you're existing in, like New York City, was recently very inhabited. And so it's kind of scary to see it empty, or at the very least, like the signs of life kind of like draining out of it as people run away. Whereas this one, like the first bit of it takes place in like, I don't know, like a big tower essentially, which is like fun and cool. But you immediately go to this like desert town that's like, for lack of a better term, like abandoned. Like there's just nobody there. And there's these like kind of animalistic monsters that are there, but like they're kind of like goofy looking and like not like that frightening.
Like Goofy, like Donald and Goofy.
Yeah, like they look like Goofy from Mickey Mouse. Who's, you know, got an extra arm or something.
Oh, God. Oh, that's much more terrifying than I thought it would be.
Open your mind to the old one.
Goofy, herald of the old one.
The power is limitless. You just have to break your mortal coil.
Avatar of the nightmare, Goofy.
Goofus.
Goofus the night. Avatar of nightmares.
So yeah, I think just like the tone shift is I think that it's like probably effective for what they were going for, but the change I think was a bit of a bummer for me because it just wasn't hitting as hard.
Yeah, it was just too much of a shift. That happens sometimes. Like the Prince of Persia 1, Prince of Persia 2. Too much of a shift. I don't know if it was that dramatic for you. But yeah.
No, it felt big, yeah.
When you want the sequel to what you played and not like a total change, it can be frustrating.
Yeah, and I don't mind games changing things up or exploring new territory, but I think just the thing that I went to for the first one, this like the cosmic horror stuff, was just not really present in this one as much.
Yeah.
It felt a lot more like a Resident Evil game where like as wild as the things are that are happening in the game, the stakes are like, I understand them, right? Like zombie outbreak, big company, did some experimenting. Now they're zombies, right? Like it's a bummer, but like the mitochondria of like somebody's DNA trying to revolt against your own body and create a more perfect being. Like, yeah, dude,
that's wild.
Now we're talking.
That's wet and wild.
It's very good. I think also the music is like not quite as good.
Oh,
in this one.
Interesting.
Good is relative. It is.
Is it more actiony, less like suspenseful?
It's just less engaging for me. Let me show you an example.
Ooh, this one's for Garen.
This one's for Garen. Video game musicism. So this is the music that oftentimes would play when you're just like in a level, wandering around in, you know, the park level or something. So for all intents and purposes, this is background music.
Sure.
It's not like mind-shattering.
No, but it's engaging. Conveys like, oh, there's something spooky and mysterious going on, but like,
yes,
it's a little up-tempo, so it makes you want to keep moving, keep going, looking for things. It's like action or not action-oriented, but I guess like saying like driving suspense a little bit. Yeah,
there's movement to it. This is the song for like when you are in the town that you show up in, this like ghost town, or not ghost town, but like old Western town, I guess. So for all intents and purposes, this music is filling the same purpose. Like it is background music for one of the main levels in the game.
Sure. They were going for like some postmodern stuff here, like postmodern, like cowboy, space cowboy.
It's just very like empty compared to the other one. And I think that's on purpose. Like they're trying to be more atmospheric, but like not in a way that's really working for me.
No, I'm not quite into this one as much. It's a little too offbeat with itself, you know? And I think it's trying to go for that, just like cohesive but discordant at the same time.
Yeah, again, which I don't like. The description of it is, it doesn't really bother me, but I think the experience of playing this and feeling like I am in this town that's like deserted and there's monsters everywhere and things are behind a corner, like doesn't really match with what is coming out of my speakers, you know? And I think like at the root of that is just I liked the music in the first one quite a bit. And so like the second one wasn't really hitting the same highs for me.
Parasite Eve too, a little not quite what you wanted.
Yeah, I don't think so. And like I think it is just a game that is so rooted in the moment that it was being made that like I'm experiencing that pretty acutely while I'm playing it. I wonder if like if I played Parasite Eve 1, you know, now and then a year from now played Parasite Eve 2, if that would feel like, oh yeah, I like this. Like it feels different. But I think playing them back to back is sort of challenging and makes, you know, the experience of playing the second one just not quite as satisfying as I was feeling. I can like really directly compare the experiences, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was feeling this way in the last game yesterday, and now I am not feeling it in this one.
It wasn't more of what you just had. It was something a little too different.
Or at least it wasn't stimulating any of the same sort of high highs and low lows, right?
Yeah.
Like that game could be like, you know, frightening in its own way, right? Like a lot of that, the like Western town that you show up to, it's like during the day. And so like there are plenty of like horror movies that are set during the day that are like very scary, but it wasn't particularly frightening. Like the stakes weren't really high. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Like just kind of plotting and slow and wasn't really hitting me in the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah.
It's still like fun. Like I was still having a good time. I just wasn't nearly as driven to play it as I was the first one. So yeah, that was my experience with Parasite Eve 2.
All right.
I think I'm still gonna keep jamming on it a little bit. Yeah. Like I do want to see like does this change?
See where it goes.
You know, yeah, see what happens. But I wasn't crazy about revisiting that one.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like usually the opposite happens. Usually I revisit a game and I'm like, this is better than I remember.
Opposite.
Not exactly. Yeah,
Bummer.
not exactly. Yeah, it's okay.
It happens.
Inevitably, games are going to develop in that way. And like, it's maybe a good sign that like the kind of survival horror that this existed within has changed so much that like it's doing new things. Because you know the kind of survival horror or the kind of horror that Parasite Eve was doing hasn't really been expanded upon, whereas the other kind has. And so like. Good on Capcom for making more Resident Evil
Good
games.
on Capcom.
Speaking of Capcom, David.
Segue. It's almost like you planned it.
A little bit. I'm also playing Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny.
Wow. What?
Why? Yeah. Onimusha is a series that Capcom put out, I think in kind of the early 2000s. It was by and large a PlayStation 2 release. Like I don't think any of the other games came out on any later consoles or anything before that. And Onimusha existed in this kind of the shadow of Resident Evil. Like it has a lot of similar tropes. It controls very similarly, but it is set in this like very old school like samurai Japan setting. And the first one I liked quite a bit. I played that when it came out, and it was mostly a pretty concise, I wouldn't say good, but like concise story of this dude like wandering through this old castle and like trying to save a friend of his. And like I thought it was pretty good. Like the action of the game feels sort of like a Devil May Cry, like kind of in that area. It's
hack
not
and slash.
Yeah, it's hack and slashy. It's not nearly as in depth as Devil May Cry was. Like there's a lot of systems going on in those games that I think work really well and force you to kind of change up your playstyle a lot. Whereas this one, like the combos are almost always the same thing. You're not doing that much differently, but it's just very fun. It's very satisfying and like it's fun in the same way that dispatching zombies in Resident Evil is fun. Like they feel like a big enough threat that it feels good to get through them.
Sure.
Yeah, I loved the first one. This one came out almost like a year later. It wasn't very long at all, and had a lot of like huge pedigree on this game. Like Kenji Inafune was on this one, who was the producer and writer of like a bunch of like Mega Man games, Resident Evil games, the Onimusha games, and like just a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
that was huge at Capcom, and so like it's got a pretty big pedigree coming into this one, but. I think that the kind of conciseness that was in the first one, it read kind of like a Zelda game almost, where the story was very sparse and like not super in depth, but because it was fairly simple, I was like, I can get on board with this. Like some video game stories like read as legends, and that's okay to me. Where like I don't need details, I don't really need a lot of plot. It's just sort of like I'm on a quest to save my friend. You know,
give me the
like,
vibe.
Yeah, like that's fine. I'm cool with that. This one sort of attempts to fill out the story a little bit more, and I just don't really know what's going on at any given point in this video game.
Yeah.
And like, that's okay because the combat is really what I'm there for. The different sort of like weapons that you can get in this game are all very fun. They all have sort of different like powers that you can approach situations with. And it's just generally fun to fight fucking demons. I don't think I mentioned that you're fighting demons yet, but you're fighting demons.
The most important part, you fight demons.
The concept of this game is so wild. You're in samurai Japan. Demons exist as like a real tangible thing, monsters, and they're like the lord of the demons is Oda Nobunaga, which is
wild,
so bizarre. It'd be
Takes
as
me
if
back
like
to 9th grade history class.
It's so weird. It would be as if in Red Dead Redemption 2 there were demons and their demon lord was like Andrew Jackson or something like that. Like just a bizarre historical figure.
Yeah.
That like
Abraham Lincoln, Demon King.
Demon King. Yeah, like honestly that owns and I like that. And so like it doesn't bother me that much playing through it cuz like that's fun. I like that. I like that it's just some historical figure. Guan Yu, master of demons. Like I love that. And so like the conceit behind the game is that like they're just trying to invade and fuck shit up, and like you come from a line of like Oni who can dispatch with demons. And in the very first part of the game, your village, you play as Jubei. He his village gets like attacked. Like that's the very first thing that happens. You roll back up on it and like everybody's dead, right? It's no good.
Like Legend of Dragoon style.
Whoa, what a pull. Nice, sick ref.
Sick
I
reference. For some reason, that's what I always think of when a village gets destroyed while I'm away.
Yeah, Legend of Dragoon.
Good game.
It is a good game, actually. So the game starts from there. You get this very weird cutscene, which I would like to listen to a little bit of it because it illustrates how absolutely bananas the voice acting is in this game.
Sure, let's do it.
It is to the point where like I love what they're doing because it is just so outrageous. So this is the scene where you come back into this cave where this like creature has been calling you after your village has been totally destroyed. Yeah, that's all you really need to know here.
What? A demon woman? You're behind this.
Jubei, the one responsible for burning down Yagyu village is Nobunaga Oda.
What?
Kill him, for he is the real demon.
A demon? What are you talking about?
Defeat the demon, Jubei.
The inflections are so strange.
That's pause. The inflections. I don't know what like they're trying to say. I hear the words that they're saying.
Like, are they trying to make it sound like a demon talking? Like, doesn't know how to quite communicate?
Like spoilers for this game. This is your mom talking to you.
Whoa.
She's like an Oni. She's just a descendant of the Oni.
She's not a demon?
I mean like no, she's not a demon. And so like she's seemingly would be very kind, but she's like kind of yelling at Jubei.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, shut the fuck up. It's Oda Nobunaga. Go kick his ass.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. Anyway, so voice acting, very bizarre. And in a way that like, I'm cool with that. It's very weird. It's very charming. Like it's campy without intending to be that way, which is the best kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. But that's sort of the setup of the story. And you as Jubei go to this like mining town because your Oni mom tells you to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Oni Mama. Huh.
The newest mama game. Oni Mama.
In the long series of cooking mamas, now it's time for Oni Mama. So you do that as Jubei. And you run into like these other people who are also kind of on like quests. They don't really explicitly state that up front, but there's like this dude Magoichi who's like kind of silent and he has a gun.
Maluigi?
Magoichi. Maluigi's pretty fun though.
Luigi's in this game is what you're telling me.
Luigi, the Mario character, is in Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny.
Magoichi.
Magoichi. And
I see no difference. Anyways, continue.
There's this other dude, Eki, who's like just a turd burglar, like just the worst shithead.
Bummer.
It is that sort of early 2000s, and you still see this shit in like anime where it's like, this dude's like a deplorable sex monster. And, but because he speaks in kind of a silly voice and is maybe overweight, like you're supposed to think that he's fine.
He's like a Master Roshi?
Kind of worse, I think.
No.
Like Master Roshi seems like he oogles at women quite often.
Yeah.
And is like, owns a lot of pornography, which like, you know, whatever. I don't care if Master Roshi has like a huge porn collection.
Mm-hmm.
The oogling sucks, but like it's very like referenced often that like Eki is telling people like, hey, fuck off, stop telling me not to like hit on women or like go try and like kiss women, because like
bummer,
you don't think that they like me or whatever. Fuck you, let's fight about it. Like that sort of shithead.
Bummer. The worst guy at the frat party.
It's the worst dude at the frat party. Like very what's the horrible dude in My Hero Academia?
Mineta?
Mineta. Very Mineta kind of character.
Ugh.
Like where they're just objectively shitty, but because it's like, oh, he's silly. He's a fun little silly scamp. Like it's supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, this just sucks.
Yeah.
Like that is very bizarre. And like all of them have these sort of backstories that try to make them more compelling. I think some of them land, some of them are a little interesting, but like Eki's is like his like wife and child were killed a while back when there was like an invasion essentially.
Sure.
And he wants to be this like feudal lord as a way to like kind of control his surroundings, as a way to get revenge for his kids. But like, you don't have to be a sex pervert about that, my dude.
You sure don't.
You don't have to be that.
That's something you choose to be, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Just like, don't do that. You can also want this weird dream of being a feudal lord without like, I don't know. That part of it has aged pretty poorly. And like every time Eki comes up on screen, I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of here, dude. I don't want to hang out with this guy.
Ooh, Chase is audibly booing the whole time.
Throwing tomatoes at my screen.
He has a box of tomatoes next to his couch, just in case.
Ready. But I think point being that like all of these characters, there ends up being about 5 of them in your like core group of people that you see regularly. Mm-hmm. They all have sort of this like almost like mythical drive to do something, right? It's not clear what it is at any given point. Yours is obviously revenge for your village. Eki's is to try and, you know, become a feudal lord. It ends up that Magoichi wants to become like very rich. Mm-hmm. And you know, all this stuff ends up happening. But I was really hoping that the story was going to bend in this direction of like these people who are just like so focused on getting this one thing end up like really falling apart and like not doing well because they're just so singularly focused. Mm-hmm. But that's really, everybody kind of just gets what they want. And like,
interesting.
No real lesson is kind of learned in this game.
Be single-minded and everything will turn out okay.
Yeah, just like want revenge. That's a totally cool thing to do. To be fair, Oda Nobunaga, like if you're fighting Demon King Andrew Jackson, like, yeah, go fuck him up, man. Like the dude's a shithead. Like he's a bad president. So you can do that. But I just wish the story was a little bit more interested in like actually examining these characters more so than just like, these are allies you can fight with, you know? So yeah, it's bizarre. I was hoping that returning to this one, I would find some new stuff in the story because like, I think you're aware that when I was playing these kinds of games, like story was not the thing I was paying attention to at all. I was just there to hunt demons. The game delivers on that. I like that part of the game a lot. It's very fun to fight the demons. Mm-hmm. But looking at like, why is Jubei doing this? And like, is this quest for revenge ultimately going to end well for him? Yeah. It's just kind of yes. He kind of just kicks Nobunaga's ass, and like that's the game.
That's the game that gamers wanted a Last of Us Part 2 to be.
Yeah, like you just beat the shit out of guys who killed Joel, and that's the end of the game. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, like it's not very interesting,
I guess.
Yeah, I definitely could have used a lot less killing of people who had names, and then also crunch at Naughty Dog, but you know. Here we are.
Yeah. Fuck, dude.
Anyway,
both those things are brutal.
Yeah, both those things are really rough. So I'm enjoying playing this game. I like doing it, but turning my brain off is a much easier way to play this game than trying to engage with it, which is sort of a bummer because like there's another game that I will not talk about yet. We will eventually talk about it in the future.
Oh, all right.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, okay.
That is really good when you engage with it. Like as an adult engaging with it is very different than a 12-year-old boy trying to engage with it. Like there is a rich vein of shit to look at in that game, whereas this one it's like it's not. It's just you're just there to fight demons. And like
Pretty shallow.
games can be that. I don't really mind games just being demon fighters, but like
It's fine.
I think it works better like it did in the first one, where you're just a dude trying to save their friend and you got to fight through demon hordes to get there. Like that works a lot better for me.
Yeah, you don't need all this other extra stuff.
But yeah, I'm gonna keep playing this fucking video game. It's just a fun background video game.
Yeah, sounds like it's fun. Just like you said, turn off your brain and just hack away.
Yeah. I am also playing, as I mentioned before, David, Dark Souls 1 remastered.
That's on my back burner. I'm afraid to play it after playing Elden Ring because I'm like, can it compare at this point?
It's really interesting, and that's really all I want to talk about with my return to this game, is how the analysis of this game will change after having played Elden Ring, after having Elden Ring just existing at all. Because like I played Demon Souls back when it came out, was quite bad at it, dropped it, and then was like, I don't think the FromSoft games are for me. And then it wasn't until Bloodborne came out that I was like, wait, maybe. And then I think it was like whenever the Switch release of this one came out, I played that of Dark Souls 1 remastered and like got through it and was like, that's a good ass game. And so like it took me a little while to appreciate it. And I think that's kind of the story for a lot of people who have gotten into From games, that like your first one usually doesn't click.
No, it does not. Yeah. That was Dark Souls for me.
Yeah. It really doesn't explain very much to you, and then I think that's on purpose. Like I think it is hostile in a lot of ways, but it's been fascinating to play through this. So anyway, point being, this was the one that it has been the longest since I've played through. Like, played Demon Souls, the remastered one, more recently. I played Bloodborne more recently. I played Dark Souls 1 or 2 and 3 more recently than this. So like, I was like, all right, well, it's been a little while. I'll play through this again. So like I said, comparing this to Elden Ring is kind of all my brain is doing while I'm playing through it.
Sure.
It is both shocking to see how different Elden Ring is and how similar Elden Ring is. Like both things are pretty wild to look at.
Sure.
Like you see a lot of stuff in Dark Souls 1 that is like still in Elden Ring, right? Like a lot of the sound design is very similar.
Yeah.
A lot of the structure of the game as far as like those legacy dungeons feels very similar. It feels like not that old of a game playing through it, other than like it looking a little dated, you know? But yeah, like the weapon system, the way you craft, the sort of the flask system, it all feels very familiar.
Yeah.
And I think that if you played through the original Demon Souls, not the remastered one, that one would probably feel more dated. And I think that Dark Souls 1 was the first time that they kind of nailed, like, I think we know what this needs to be. Like this game needs to be, because Demon Souls, like the structure of the levels was sort of like more like almost Mario, right? Where you have like world 1-1, 1-2, and then 2-1 and 2-2 and all that sort of shit. Whereas Demon Souls, like they designed the world incredibly. Like the whole thing is connected to itself. Like there are many, many times where it's like, I really only know of one place I need to go right now. You run down that way for a while. You beat a couple of bosses. You're really far away. You unlock a ladder that goes straight back up to the very first part that you were at. And you're like, holy shit, like I didn't know I could get here from this spot. And like the whole world is like that. And so it really nails that part of it, which feels like Elden Ring in a lot of ways, right? Like they still maintain that sense of the world feeling like one cohesive piece. It just happens to be that the Dark Souls 1 world is all dense compared to Elden Ring.
Yeah, it's like you have predetermined pathways you go down.
Yeah, like it's not an open world. You're not just wandering around in a field. But the game manages to kind of like sew it all together in a way that feels very significant when you're finally able to like go back to a place that you had before. The way the weapons feel, the way that combat feels is totally like it's not exactly the same, but it feels very, very similar. Of like these games don't feel that removed from one another. It reminds me of like when you play Mario 64 and then jump into Mario Galaxy, you're like, I get it. I get how the jumps are connected here. Like the games look pretty different and there's different shit going on in them, but like Mario feels pretty similar.
He's still Mario.
He's still Mario. He's still jumping and running.
We know and love.
Yeah. And so like I think the enjoyment that you get out of these From games in the way that like it feels like an expression of skill in a certain sense, the exploration, the satisfaction of like beating these big monsters, like that's all still there. And so in some ways this game doesn't feel that dated, doesn't feel that old, despite the fact that this, I think it came out in like 2010, 2011. It's fun. Like it's very cool that they're able to make these games that last a long time. Just talked about two games that didn't really like stand up to the test of time that well. Yeah. Whereas this one like really did. And I think that's both a testament to how good of a like design this kind of game was, and how unexplored a lot of these like territories are still. That like not a lot of people is aping the FromSoft style. Like it's still kind of unique to that company.
Yeah, I mean, people take bits and pieces of it, like the recent God of War.
Yes,
I feel like most third-person action games have taken the roll, block, hit kind of action formula.
Yes. Yeah.
Fighting dynamic, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, totally. Like the combat is all, people have definitely looked at that, but I think the world design and how they present the story is like,
it's
it's
still the
still
whole
a very
thing.
The package is still very
the whole package
From.
is very still FromSoft. Yeah.
Which is cool. Like I like going back and exploring these spaces of like fighting the bosses. I will say that like I must have misremembered how quick of a pace the bosses were coming at these games are, because after having played Elden Ring, where there's a lot of bosses, I feel like I'm like, where are all the bad guys in Dark Souls 1? Like there's monsters and I'm fighting those guys, but where's the big boys that I get to fight?
Yeah.
They're not super there. They're there, but like just not nearly as many of them. And so, it is both impressive that they had this good of a game world this early on, and that Elden Ring is also still a huge achievement. Like it's still a wild achievement to have this game come out and have it be so different and so interesting and so cool with this like foundation of video game having been built on its back. I also just like the lore of these games is so much fun. A lot of the like references that they make in this game, I'm like, you could easily draw lines from Elden Ring to Dark Souls 1. I don't think it's not always intentional, but like the glintstone magic in Elden Ring looks so much like the magic in this game. Like it's the blue sort of spells. They make very similar sound. There's a lot of references to elder trees and like the fire mark, which is this big ring that's like looks like the fucking rune. Like so much of it is like they're probably just treading on ground that they're familiar with at this point. But like it's very fun to be like, maybe it's Elden Ring
all
in the future.
one world.
Yeah, like that's very fun to kind of like speculate and exist in that space. Anyway, yeah, I'm having a pretty good time with it. It's hard to recommend somebody play Dark Souls 1 for the first time because there's like 2 or 3 spots that are objectively very frustrating to play through. Blight Town still sucks. It still sucks in this run, dude. Like I know it's coming. I know what I need to do in there, and it's still just a huge bummer.
That's the Poison Town, right?
It's a poison town. It's really dark. You can't see very much. It's vertical, so you're not like running out. You're running down. So there's all these places where if you fall, it's just over. You have to do the whole thing over again.
It's
like,
fucked up.
It's brutal. There's a mechanic that they have in this game. I think it's called Cursed, where if you die from like these like toad monsters, they will semi-permanently reduce your health by half until you go find the cure for cursing, which is like not easy to find. Like there's like one merchant on top of a cathedral somewhere that like will sell it to you for like a lot of souls.
Damn.
It's brutal.
That's
so the first time I
up.
got caught like with just no health. My maximum health was so low. And I had to just like scrape my way back to find this like cure. In this one, I knew these dipshits were around the corner. And so I'm like, I'm not fucking with the frogs in this time. I'm not going over there.
Okay. So if I play this game, fuck the frogs.
If you see big frogs with big old eyes that start spraying shit at you, just turn the other direction. You do not need to be there. Or alternatively, if you see that you're like hitting them and not doing enough damage, come back later. You don't need to find them right now. Like they're just, it's so dangerous.
That's spooky.
It's very spooky. But anyway, yeah, I'm like loving it. I think that it's a fun experience playing through these games. I'm sure this will just kick off another run through every FromSoft game.
The yearly FromSoft run.
Yeah, and like I love that that's a thing it can do with these games. I don't do that with a lot of other games, but because they're so fun to experience mechanically, like it allows you to play through them again in a way that feels novel each time.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be this like I'm just experiencing the story again. It's like,
yeah,
all right, I'm going to go trudge back through Undead Burg. Let's see what's going on in there.
So is it 1, 2, Bloodborne, 3?
As far as like release date?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne?
1, 2, yeah, I can't remember if 2 or Bloodborne came out first. And I know that they were being developed at the same time, but I can't remember which one came out first. They're all good. Like they're all good video games.
Yeah.
I think Dark Souls 2 gets a bad rap because it's not exactly in line with 1 and 3. But it's still fucking good. It's still fun. So yeah, loving it. Good games, these FromSoft games.
Your Arch card coming out?
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I'm about to pull out my Platinum Arch card. Go get some fries.
Platinum Arch card. What's the benefit of having a Platinum Arch card?
They roll out the orange carpet whenever you go to McDonald's.
Oh, do you get to wear Ronald McDonald shoes when you walk in? Do they bring you a pair and like, here you go, sir, your shoes?
He lets you feel them. He lets you feel the shoes.
Let you honk the nose?
He lets you honk the nose, but you have to get like a lifetime platinum membership if you want to wear Ronald shoes. That's for the big boys.
What if I want to wear Ronald?
I mean, that's the goal eventually, right? Like, get to see through his eyes.
Bloodborne, secret final boss, Ronald McDonald.
They say there's an alternate dimension if you truly step into Ronald.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was in that game, to be honest.
Ronald the Fry Man.
Ronald the Fry Man. Ooh, that's a good one.
Finally, last game. I'm also playing through 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim.
Ooh, little asynchronous plug.
That is exactly what is going on here.
Nice.
There is, how to say this, it's a very good podcast that you should listen to called Asynchronous, where AJ and Kim play through games that people have told them to play. And their current season that they're just now kicking off is about this game called 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
13th season?
No, third.
Oh,
but
I said third. I was like, damn.
Anyway, so I was compelled to play through this game at the same time because I've heard a lot of good things about it, but also know that it is like a pretty complicated game story-wise. And just was never really like, I knew it was really good and I was like, I should play through that. And then just never really did. But however, it's a great time to do so. Play the game. It's good. Listen to the podcast. It's also
give it a shot. It's different than asynchronous, right? Not the
it's
same.
It's different than asynchronous, which nobody knows the true source of asynchronous. So this game is a visual novel for the most part. Like the way that the story plays out is very much through these like kind of longer voiced sections of game that you're playing through, and that is sort of cut up by these, I guess, like real-time strategy kind of tower defense sections. Where the characters that are in the story are in these gigantic mechs called Sentinels, and you are trying to fight back waves of kaiju, as they call them. Monsters, yeah. But they're all just like big machines. So it's like not kaiju in the traditional sense, right? Like I think when I think of kaiju, I think of like fleshy, nasty monsters.
Yeah.
They're big machines, which I think is probably on purpose.
Okay. Cool.
So you play through the prologue. It's very confusing. The story is all just like all over the place, and the battles are like fine. I'm not necessarily there for the combat. I just hear it's a very good story, and so I turned that difficulty right down to casual because I was like, I kind of just want to like wipe the floor with these baddies. And then the game opens up after you play the prologue, and you get to choose from a big cast of characters of what of their stories do you want to play through. And you start doing that, you start getting more information. It's like telling you these events mostly out of order. You're trying to connect like, okay, so this thing just happened over here with this character, and then I go over here and then you see it from their perspective. And
sure.
Like, that sort of stuff. But one of the bigger interesting hooks in this game is that the game is presented through these like branching path narratives, but you're encouraged and nearly required to play through every one of the branches. They just make that quite easy to do. So like, say you're playing like an after school section for one of the characters, you can click square to see like, okay, there's a branch coming up for like what could happen in the story. And, depending on what you say, what you do, it will branch and change to something else. And then, you'll get some part of the story, and then you can go back to the point right before the story branched and just do the other thing. Right? And you get another kind of story.
Like Goosebumps.
It's very much like Goosebumps. 13 Sentinels. Goosebumps read.
R.L. Stein edition.
And so like it encourages you to do that. And like I think at a certain point to get all of the story, you do have to do all of that. And so it's this interesting integration of allowing people to execute on the promise of like branching paths of seeing like, okay, well, what would happen if I didn't do that? It like says, yes, you should do that. Yeah, and you have to in a lot of spots. Yeah. And it's really enjoyable so far. Like it is hard to talk about this game without necessarily getting into the story because I think that's a lot of what makes it so good. But I think just the structure of it is really great. The stuff that they're doing with like this ensemble cast of characters is really fun. The story is bananas, like just immediately bananas. And like, that's great. I love that. And yeah, it's good. I think I will have more to say on this the farther in I get, because as of now, the story is just a huge question mark of me being like, whoa, that's a wild implication. Whoa, what the fuck was that? Who is that character? Wait, what is happening over here? Like that sort of stuff is still happening.
So
and
pretty kind of like just comes at you fast.
It comes at you fast and with a lot of implications with like the stuff that is happening.
Sure.
And so it's really fun in that way. And I am so glad that people who have played this game all the way through have said, stick with it. Because like there's a world where I play this and I'm like, I am not following any of this.
Yeah, like I don't get any of this.
It is so confusing. But plenty of people whose opinions that I like quite a bit have said like, it solidifies eventually. Like you just kind of got to like let the story wash over you until you like get towards the end.
Sure, just push through, power through.
It's pretty enjoyable. I think like it has problems with like over-sexualization of people who are, it's an over-sexualization of people who are like younger than 18. Right?
Sure, busting it down sexual style.
Yes, like in unnecessary ways.
Bummer.
And like there's, its treatment I think of like gender and queerness too in places is really mishandled. It's not the just straight shitty view that like some games have. And there's like spots where I'm like, this is actually pretty good. Like there's spots where it actually does work pretty well. But there's also spots where they're just taking on topics that are like so big that I'm like, are we really ready to like tackle this in this game right now? And like if they had done it, I would have said like, hell yeah. But I think just some of it is a little mishandled in a way that makes me feel like it's a missed opportunity to like do better in that way. But yeah, still very fun, still very interesting, and like I'm definitely going to keep playing it.
Oh yeah, cool.
Hey, this is going to bring me to my Podtimists thing, David.
Let's hear it.
It's parrying. I love parrying, David.
Yeah, you love parrying.
It's very good.
Parrying is great.
Dark Souls 1 has a really good parry.
Ooh.
I'm just like, I've got it. Like I've got the timing down so well. I think the very last boss in Dark Souls 1, like if you're not like totally over leveled, nearly requires you to parry because you can do it and like that'll make the boss fight fairly straightforward. And so last time I played it, I had to get good at parrying to like beat the last boss. And so rolling back through it again, I'm like, ooh, I got your guys' numbers. Ain't nobody in this game. Like if somebody's too tough,
I
I'm
own
like,
you now.
I got a good shield. I'm gonna parry the heck out of this. It's good. Whenever there's a really good parry in a game, it just always feels good. Onimusha is kind of a good one. It's like not a response parry. It's like you just have to hit attack at the right time, like right before you get hit.
Yeah,
it's good, man. It never feels bad.
Gotta have a good like sound effect with it too. I think you know the sound effect is crucial.
It is. No, yeah. The Dark Souls one, the like right after you hit somebody's sword away is incredible. The Onimusha one is pretty good too. It's like the screen flashes like white for a second and you just immediately like blur through the enemy and they're just like immediately dead.
Damn, that's cool.
Very, very good. Very, very good.
All right.
I mean, shouts out to the GOAT Sekiro, where like parrying was like, there's a core component of that video game.
That game was just DDR.
I mean, kind of.
It was a rhythm game. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
You learn the enemy's rhythm, and that's how you win.
Yeah. Anyway, good parry. Love it. Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do, Jace.
What is it?
It's the Return of the King.
The Return of the King.
Yeah.
What is it?
Switch Sports.
Switch Sports.
Coming this week.
It's ready. It's coming. Yeah.
I'm so stoked.
Me too.
I'm gonna play some tennis.
Yep.
I'm gonna play some bowling.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
I'm gonna play it on my Switch Online or whatever it is. I'm stoked on it because I know, of course, that I will be able to seduce Mallory into some bowling because she is a bowling fiend. So
absolutely. I think I knew that about her.
She went to bowling camp multiple years of her life.
Yes.
Which sounded dope as fuck.
Pretty sick.
To be quite honest.
About that.
It sounded like a global every day of the week for a whole summer, which is amazing. For anybody who doesn't know, global was just a bowling alley party that we would have in middle school, which was dope as fuck. So
9th grade gangster's paradise. I think some have called it.
What did you call it? An 8th grader's gangster's paradise?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I'd be rolling up in our parents' minivans and hop on out and rule country club lanes.
Get ready to play some Arctic Thunder for 4 hours.
But yeah, I'm really, really excited for Switch Sports. I'm gonna give myself tennis elbow again. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be awesome. You and I could probably play this in person this weekend, David.
Oh, fudge me sideways.
Yeah, dude. You're coming up Seattle way. We're gonna be in person. I'm taking Friday off.
Baby, it's on, dude. I challenge you, Chase. I challenge you. We're going to live stream this. Let's go. Let's get our Twitch account ready.
Jesus.
Two 30-year-olds play a sports video game.
Would you like to hear some knee cracks?
Oh, my knee's got the best cracks, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely. Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, it's Good Games.
We're back.
We're back. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done a Good Games segment.
Why?
I think because it has been, right? It's been like a month.
Yeah, that's true. Because last week we did Snake.
We did Snake.
Was Snake the last one we did?
Might have been. No, it was Sonic.
Oh, Sonic Racing?
Yeah. It's already been purged from our memory.
It was fun. It was fun. It was good.
It was Good Games, yeah. Good Games being the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and talk about the things that we love about them. And for our 102nd episode, one week
for
too
101,
late.
102.
102, we're doing the wonderful 101, the video game.
Hey, it's almost like we thought about this, but didn't have enough time to do
it. You know how poor planning works.
You know how it is.
So can I hit you with a few hot stats about Wonderful 101, dude?
Please.
Hot stats.
So, Wonderful 101, the original release came out August 23rd of 2013.
Old.
I didn't look this up, but I'm pretty sure it was a Wii U release.
It was a Wii U
or
special.
launch. Yeah. I think it was a launch title, right? The Wii U came out November 18th, 2012. So it was like a little under a year after the Wii U had come out.
Okay.
It was made by Platinum Games.
Of Nier Automata fame. So you almost certainly know some games made by Platinum Games. I was looking at their history today. Very bizarre history Platinum Games has. They've done a lot of things.
They've done not only a lot of things, but they have like some of the best video games. And they have some real stinkers in the bunch.
Didn't they just release a stinker?
Yeah, Babylon's Fall was the one that just came out. It's so bizarre. Like they have on one hand Bayonetta, one of the like best beat 'em ups, just period.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Revengeance, Nier Automata, one of the best video games.
Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Period.
Yep.
They also have Star Fox Zero, The Legend of Korra, which was a bad game, I think. Babylon's Fall, like just very bizarre games. I feel like they're
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of video game developers.
Yeah, which like I kind of respect in a certain sense. Like, but like if you're gonna make a game, do something with it. Either make it like just a total trash heap or like a really good game.
Is this the Mrs. Thompson version of game making?
It is, yeah. Like either put out just like a real turd or like put out one of the best games. Like a C+ video game is like not nearly as good as the F- that like one of them come out. I'm being very unoptimistic.
I was about to say, isn't this whole segment about the C+ games?
It is, and this one just happens to be a C+ game anyway. But it was just very bizarre to see like kind of what's going on with their game history. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I do have a review.
Let's hear it.
From our friends at Joe Video, David. We're back with our friends Joe.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. I have taken their review, which is originally in French, and I have run it through Google Translate a bunch of times, one language into the other, to eventually spit out the mangled husk of a review.
Language centipede.
Yeah, it's the language centipede. And I will now read for you their review of the Wonderful 101.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rely on your height. Amazing Game 101 is awesome, but everyone likes it. The game can be rewarding, but explosives can disrupt the game, and in some cases, throughout the game, use clothes to clear the damage. It affects mental illness and well-being. Additionally, Platinum Games welcomes gamers with users and greatly enhances Wii U game library. 7 out of 10.
It greatly enhances Wii U's Wii U game library.
The PlayStation 2's PlayStation 2 library. Yeah, you know.
You can play Wii U games on the Wii U. Who would have thunk?
Who would have thunk it?
Also, it affects mental illness?
And well-being.
Well-being.
Both. Yeah, both of them.
They knew about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde nature of Platinum Games when they wrote that review.
They played Nier Automata, which definitely affected my mental illness and my well-being.
For certain.
Both of them were pushed in certain directions.
really pushed you to the limit. Damn.
Yeah, Nier Automata is good as hell, man.
That's a good game.
Hey, can you tell me what this game is, David?
Yeah, so The Wonderful 101 is a game about planetary defenders, the Wonderful Ones, who, in the blink of an eye, will activate a suit that turns them into superheroes to protect the world from invaders or disaster or what have you.
Yeah.
The gameplay is the weirdest mixture of things maybe ever. Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Part Beautiful Joe, it's part Okami, it's part Pikmin, and it's all bizarre.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in this game.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around when you first start playing it, because you're like, hold on, there's like 3 or 4 different things going on in this game right now, and I'm just kind of confused as to like what is actually what I'm supposed to be interacting with the game with.
They're throwing a lot at you at once.
There's a lot
tutorial.
at you really quickly. But yeah, it's a very cartoony style. It's very much in the Beautiful Joe style of game. Art-wise, at least.
I read up, and I think it's like this Eastern interpretation of Western comics.
Sure.
In the same way that Beautiful Joe was. It's like very bright color palette and like over exaggerated heroes.
Sure.
In a certain way.
Yeah.
But obviously it's made by a Japanese developer, so it's rooted in like a Japanese understanding of game design and like the world. So it's this interesting kind of cocktail of both of those things.
Yeah. And then it's played as an isometric kind of top-down experience, like a Pikmin. Right? But then you use Okami moves to use the different superheroes to make different weapons like swords or fists or guns to attack your enemies. And then you traverse the world doing like small little puzzles to get around the world's space, fight people and beat the aliens. And I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah.
It's a very weird game, this game.
It is. It's very strange. I remember I played this on the Wii U back in the day. I think I rented it on GameFly.
Whoa, dude.
I want to say I'm still getting GameFly
using
back then.
GameFly in the year of our Lord 2013.
Yeah,
2013.
That was even kind of late for GameFly. That was the death throes of GameFly. But I rented it from them, and I was kind of off put by it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
So I didn't get very far in it. But I think it's a pretty good game. Actually,
it is. I totally agree. And like there's just a lot of stuff you kind of gotta like get through to get to the part where the game is pretty good.
Yeah, it throws everything at you all at once, and you're just confused as to what to do at first. But then once you start understanding how things kind of work together, it makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, like I really like Pikmin as like a game. And you're right that it reminds me a lot of Pikmin in the way that like you're probably like one person in a group of many that are trying to beat things that are quite a bit larger than you are.
Yeah. And you can get more people to make stronger things. Yeah.
And like that, I think that loop is pretty good. And again, because they're Platinum Games, like there is a pretty solid fighting game in here, or like a beat 'em up game.
Yeah. Everything feels impeccable.
Yeah,
like the fighting wise, at least.
They give you like, I don't think it's a parry technically, but it's like a guard essentially very early in the game. And that always felt good to be able to like guard something and have somebody hit you and then they get kind of stunned or whatever. And yeah, like I think that's a kind of game that is largely unexplored. I am kind of wandering around with my army of 20 little creatures that I'm going to go order to do something. And it very much plays out like that because the isometric view like makes you feel very small. But yeah, you're right. It's so odd that like the tutorial level, the first level, like there's just so much stuff coming at you.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Overwhelming. You're getting shot at by missiles. The bus, the train you're on is getting destroyed piece by piece.
Yeah.
It's all very confusing.
Yeah, and then like after that level, they pull out into your like, okay, we're gonna go hang out in this like orbital defense frame above the Earth, and I'm like, okay,
fucking Virgin
now
Galactic spaceship.
Yeah, no, immediately turns into Nier Automata, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, now I'm in.
Yeah,
it's wild. I think once you start going into like the individual levels, the game starts shining a little bit more. But it's interesting. I saw that this game didn't get as good of reviews overall.
Yeah.
And like I sort of understand the sentiment, but I do wonder how much of that is just like kind of a poor first level compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah. The first impressions are huge, especially with games, right? Because it's a big time commitment that you put into a game if you want to play it.
Yeah. And like like you're saying, the first impression is just so important because like it's teaching you how to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so like you're correct to point out that like there's a lot of Beautiful Joe and a lot of Okami because a lot of the people who worked on Beautiful Joe and Okami were working on this game as well.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. And so like it's a very interesting combination because I think both of those games are heralded as these like kind of not indie darlings. I think Okami did pretty well, but like people point to them and say like, wow, these are really creative and interesting games.
Cult classics.
Yeah. And like this one's kind of left out of the conversation. And I think that may be a little bit unfair because I get that like there are some frustrations and I don't think the edges are sanded off quite as much as Beautiful Joe and Okami are, but there's still a pretty fucking good game in here. It's super like hyper stylized. Mm-hmm. It's really fun. Reminds me of like a Shonen anime with like how people are talking in the game. Like it's just over the top and ridiculous and shit like that.
And it's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
It's got some decent humor and it does not take itself seriously.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of fun of itself with, the over explanation of like why they have powers in the beginning and like these characters trying to act tough and cool, but they're actually kind of not. In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it definitely is poking fun at like the superhero genre while also still being very much like, yeah, but we're superheroes and let's kick some ass. So it's an interesting take on things.
For sure. Did you how much of this game did you play?
I got through like the first couple levels.
I think that was pretty much where I was as well. Yeah. I read through the plot synopsis of this game.
I watched a playthrough as well.
Oh, nice.
And I saw the ending cinematic, which is fucking crazy. Did you watch this?
Yes. Absolutely bananas.
It makes me want to play the full game.
Me too.
Being like, how the fuck do we get here? How does this happen? Space battle and the whole Earth is rotating?
Yeah. It's nuts, dude.
It's awesome. It's so good.
There's like this reveal later in the game, like I guess spoilers for this, but it's fun, that Jeringha, the character, reveals that Geth Jerk, the like aliens who are invading in the game, are actually from 1,500 years in the future.
Oh.
When Earth becomes an evil empire called the Greater Galactic Coalition, using the technology of the Wonderful Ones. And the Sentinels in all caps.
Oh. These are sent as in CENT though. A little different.
Yes, no.
But yes.
They the Earthgoers at this point had also destroyed the homeworlds of the Gethjerk leaders. And so they came back in time to prevent that from ever happening.
Damn.
Absolutely bananas, David.
Great story. I love how bonkers the story is.
They didn't need to go this hard. And it's really, really fun that they did.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's good sci-fi. It's really good sci-fi.
In a way that doesn't take itself too seriously. Like in near like those sort of reveals where like what's really going on are like these huge moments that are really impactful with like big implications about the world. Whereas this one's just like, it's got a really cool story in there, but it's played as comedy. And so like, it's never really all that serious, which I love. Like, I feel like funny games aren't usually this intense.
I don't need every game to like just force me to emote and experience these things, right?
Yeah.
These situations and emotions. Like The Last of Us Part 2 or Nier Automata, right? Sometimes I just want to have a fun time, right? And that's what this game gives you. It just gives you a fun game. Get the high score on each level, on each part of each level. Get the pure platinum medal and beat the aliens.
Yeah.
Do a giant, wonderful beam blast at them and use the power of the earth to blast away the bad guys.
It's good as hell. Like
so good.
All the descriptions of that stuff is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the stuff that like doesn't shine through quite as much is that, like we said, the intro is a little dicey and like it is kind of hard to learn the mechanics all at once. Among other Platinum's games, I don't think this one's like the best combat that they have.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as polished as like, Bayonetta or Nier or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a hard time using like multiple powers at once.
Yeah,
that it was talking about.
I presume this is a translation issue from the Wii U to the Switch because like, and you can see this with a lot of the way that they've like gone around having two screens because I think with the Wii U, a lot of the ways that you would draw the like Okami stuff is literally on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they didn't really have to engage with that, whereas they're trying to fit 2 screens worth of stuff onto one for the Switch. And so like some of the stuff where you're drawing or like, you know, making a circle out of all the wonderful ones to make a big fist, like
it doesn't work super well. The Okami part does not work very well.
It's a little squishy. Like
yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, so that was a circle and that one wasn't, like
I just kept
necessarily.
I kept accidentally making guns. I was trying to make fists, but I just kept making guns.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, Bayonetta, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I just always defaulted to the sword because it's just a line.
Yeah, it's just a line. It works well enough. So I that's a little frustrating that part of the game is kind of gate kept behind just the controls of just being able to use like multiple different powers at once and kind of like string combos together. Yeah, and I think that's just an issue with the hardware more than anything else. So I'd be curious if I busted my old Wii U out, a collector's item at this point, and and tried downloading. I don't even know if the Wii U game shop's even open anymore.
I have no idea.
I just tried downloading Wonderful 101 or just like finding a copy of it online. It's like, is this how I remember? Is this like, am I just using the right stick or am I actually going on the gamepad?
Yeah.
The gamepad was people slept on the gamepad. I love the gamepad.
It was such an interesting idea that I don't think really was ever fully utilized, or at least to like a large extent.
I mean, it was a stepstone to the Switch.
Yes, in sort of a different way, right? Like the gamepad feels like they stepped over to the Switch by unifying both of those experiences of like you can play on either one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think the gamepad was introducing this idea that like the screen that is on the TV is different than the one that's in your hand.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be really interesting, like for like asymmetrical multiplayer and shit like that, of like one person fighting against the rest of them.
That's
but like,
true.
How many kinds of those games can you make, right? Like it is sort of a challenging design problem.
It was
to try
almost
and
like
solve.
a DS, but for consoles.
Yeah. No,
So you had two screens.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I loved my Wii U. Wii U was slept on. I'll die on this hill.
Yeah, you might die on that on that hill, to be fair. Yeah, I don't know what there's a lot to say about this game. I think it's like the visual style is really fun, like the story is absolutely bananas and like very much worth a watch of somebody playing it. Like you can load this up on a Let's Play and I think that is a totally valid experience of Wonderful 101.
Yeah, I don't know if you get a huge amount by just playing the game. I found, like we said, we found the controls a little wonky. Sometimes I found like I got very much flashbacks to Beautiful Joe in that I'm having a great time blasting through enemies, good stuff, and then all of a sudden I just don't know what to do or where to go what it wants me to do because there's so many different options of things I can do. Like, do I make a unite circle? Do I jump around somewhere? Do I make the power line or whatever it is, the unite line, and get over an obstacle somehow and get to these other people that I'm supposed to save? Like, it just wasn't clear to me. Maybe that's just my stupid American brain not thinking on Eastern levels, but it was somewhat opaque sometimes in what I was supposed to do, which definitely took me out of the experience of a group of superheroes blasting through people and blasting through enemies and saving folks. So that was definitely something that I noticed with the game and had an issue with. I don't know if you did, but it definitely reminded me of Beautiful Joe in that regard. And like, I just don't know what it wants me to do right now. Like, I see in the bottom corner like what it says to do, but I don't know how to get there or what skill to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely ran into that situation of I'm fighting the enemies, I'm having a good time. It's very dynamic and very visceral. And then like I come up to a wall and I'm like, what? There's a fire on the other side here. Okay, so I go up the building. Okay, I just jumped into the fire.
I think we're talking about the same spot, Chase.
Yeah. I mean, there were many of them, but that was the first one I ran into where like,
how do I save the rest of these civilians? What do I do now?
Yes.
Do I make a big circle? I don't know. I'm trying to make a circle. I don't know if the controls are working to make me make a circle and do it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So it was confusing.
It was confusing. And so like it's a bummer because like I like what this game is doing. I just wish like I could do it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's just such a classic Beautiful Joe dilemma for me personally. Like I love that game. The style's great. The action is so good, but you know, you're just blasting through people and then all of a sudden it just hits you with this broom and you're just like, where
Where
do I go? I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. But you know, you just look it up online nowadays and you're blasting through and it's fine. But there's that little nasty gamer boy in me. It's like, I should figure this out by myself. You know who I'm talking about? The nasty boy in you.
It's a bummer because like I think that there are games that really tell you are not going to know what to do. And like, so say for example, I pretty regularly will look up like good builds, Dark Souls 2. Sure. And like, cause I'm probably not going to figure that out myself. And there's like one item hidden in like the attic of a corner that you would never ever go to. And it's like, you should go get that sort of stuff. I have no problem looking that kind of thing up. If it's like something in like a Mario game or something like that, I'm like, these games are usually pretty good about like telling me what I need to be doing right now. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? And so, yeah, it's kind of a tough situation to even Google of like end of level 1-2 fire wonderful 101.
Very complicated like, Google search.
Yeah, and like I will not get to the correct result. So yeah, it's bizarre. Like I said, I think this would make for a very good let's play of somebody who's like very good at Wonderful 101. So that
or someone who's very bad.
Or someone who's very bad. That is true. That would probably be a pretty
let's
fun.
play of me doing Wind Waker Chase. Are you ready?
No, I will never be ready. I've already watched you play that game, and it was a lot.
That was also a Wii U special.
The Wii U. Don't sleep on it.
I had a fun time with my Wii U. Smash 4. Oh, we smashed so hard on that bad boy.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Put the Wii U through its miles with Smash
I was the
4.
champion of the friend group because I had the Wii U. I provided Smash 4. Yeah.
We gathered, you hunted.
We gathered.
You hunted. Wii U hunted.
We gathered, you hunted. Damn.
That's another tough one.
That's actually the name. The origin of the name for the Wii U.
Very esoteric. That one has Reggie written all over it.
Reggie, that was definitely a Reggieism.
Hey, if you want to talk to us on the internet, you can do that on Twitter. It's @Podtimism if you would like to do so. Twitter's turning into more of a hell website than it was before, so maybe we'll make a Tumblr soon. I resurrected my Tumblr, so yeah, it's a nice place. I wouldn't be opposed to making a Podtimism
I thought
Tumblr.
Tumblr got destroyed.
They sort of did. They took porn off their website, and everybody's like, "This kind of sucks, actually," but it's still there. It still exists.
All right.
You can go read my video game blog from 2010.
Maybe we just need to make a Facebook.
Just go old school.
Get on the metaverse, Chase.
Post some fucking minion memes. Really light up the mom groups.
We need to get on the buy some metaverse real estate.
Yeah, dude, it's like the gold rush out there.
Metaverse real estate is such an oxymoron.
Hey, if you want to email us, you can do that. Podtimism@gmail. You can do that there.
Perfect.
Let's see.
Scout out.
If soon. If you want to help soon. If you want to help the show out, you can do that a couple of ways. One is leave a review on your outlet of choice. I think Apple Podcasts or Spotify are your options at this point. Or at least I don't see any of the other reviews if you are leaving them in some bizarre corner of the internet. You can do that, to be fair. But I don't see those ones. So who knows? You can also share it with a friend, so desire. And tell them, hey, I like video games. You maybe like video games. Check out this podcast. It's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Yeah, those are some things you can do. Also, Scout Out of the Week. Thank you, Scout Wilkinson.
Thank you
for your work on our podcast art. You crushed it.
So good.
Crushing it every day. Yeah, living right.
I love that we're
Scout.
The Sunflower Boys at this point.
Yeah, it's a really nice development. I like that there is like a clear brand, which was not clear before, but I have like fully embraced the Sunflower.
No, I love
now.
it. Flower Boy was my favorite Tyler the Creator album.
It makes sense. It's all coming together cosmically. Thank you, Scott.
Eyes on the inside.
Eyes on the inside. Also, thank you to the person who's listening to this. That's you.
Yes.
That's you.
Yes.
We appreciate having you here. It's very, very kind that you would listen to this podcast over the other mountain of video game podcasts.
So many. There's so many.
Or in tandem, I should say. There's quite a few cohabitants.
You chose us over Joe Rogan. Like, I'm so honored.
That's a W.
I'm so honored.
That's a W.
That's a W for humanity.
It's true. Like, silence would probably be better than
Joe Rogan on blast.
I mean, he's doing active damage, man. The man's a dingus. So yeah, appreciate you listening. We love making it, especially after entering into our second season now.
Is this season 2?
It is, yeah. I marked it as our second season.
We have 100 episode seasons.
Yeah. Pretty lengthy seasons, man.
Damn. We ain't fucking around.
On that Dragon Ball Z life.
2-year seasons.
It'll feel like a different show every season. Episode 1 feels pretty different than episode 101.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
And by episode 201, we will be a podcast only about flowers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Mallory's brain about that. I know nothing about flowers.
I don't either, but I bet there's a lot to learn, David.
I know about flower.
The video game, yeah.
No, I'm talking about flower.
No. Oh, FLOUR.
No.
Then what is the other flower, David?
I'll tell you later. It's fine. You ain't in know. It's cool.
Oh,
it's cool.
Come on, David.
It was a weed joke.
Smoke weed every day.
Oh, it was a weed thing. Okay.
Hopefully all of our younger listeners have left by this point of the podcast.
Probably have. We started talking about being 30, I'm sure, at some point.
Like, these guys are dinosaurs.
Can't handle all this old energy. Anyway, thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Support you. I hope you have a good day. Or night. Or afternoon. Or weekend. Or weekday.
Wow. You covered all your bases. That's impressive.
Yeah. We're good
Look
now.
at you.
Hey, David, do you have any gaming wisdom to take us out this week?
I do.
What is it?
Sometimes there are obstacles that seem insurmountable.
Yeah.
And you run up against them and they just smack you down over and over and over again. And sometimes that just means you need to just go around them, get to the other side. You don't need to rail against the machine, to bang your head against the wall ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's help on the other side if you just go around what's in front of you.
Sometimes you can make some new friends at the round table hold.
Sure can.
Like Gideon.
Ofnir, the all-knowing.
Have you seen my man's posture? It is so fucked up. He's always standing over the desk with his hands on it, just head.
He has
totally
got
looking
some
down.
scoliosis. He probably has some nerve impingement for sure.
Absolutely.
The man is all-knowing but knows nothing about good biomechanics, I'll tell you that much.
All-knowing stands badly. Gideon, the bad stander.
I think he is just a specter at this point, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I've never seen his face. I just love in the beginning when they're just like listing off all these champions. At the end, they're just like,
Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
just like fucking WWE style introducing him to the world. It's so good.
The John Cena music starts playing.
Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
Yeah.
That's why you never see Gideon Ofnir's face, at least as far as I've seen. So
It's true.
Can't see him.
Maybe he is John Cena.
Maybe he could be John Cena. You don't know. You
never know.
But I just love that hype intro in the beginning where they just like
very
slowly
good,
get more intense each time they introduce somebody. It just ends with Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. It's so good. Oh, so good.
Dude, it's good as hell. It's a good game. I'll see you in person this weekend.
I'll see you in person in pretty much
2
exactly
days.
48 hours.
Wow. That's the power of Podtimism.
That's the power of Podtimism. It brings you closer to your best friends.
Good night.
Good night.